Well, I got a mixture of good news and bad news about Roosters. The good news is Trey's still hosting karaoke there, and I pretty much figured he would be. Bad news is he isn't here hosting karaoke right now. Apparently he does have a daytime show. They had a schedule posted in there, so that was easy to take a picture of. Actually, considering how whack my camera is, it was difficult to take a picture of, but I took a picture of it nonetheless. Tried using the main camera on my iPhone, and just it was shaking so bad that the pictures were completely illegible. I managed to do it with the selfie camera, but yeah, it was difficult. It was a real challenge. I either need another phone or I need to get this iPhone serviced, and it's probably about the same price to do either thing. I'd really like to get this iPhone serviced. But anyway, yeah, he had a show today. He was on the patio. Started at 3 p.m. I don't like that the schedules that they have listed for karaoke show start times and don't show end times, because I have no idea what time he wrapped it up, but he's long gone now. Probably would have been a good time to have karaoke still going too, because there were people on the back patio singing along to the music that was on the jukebox or whatever, music they have that's playing in the whole bar. I don't think it's the jukebox, actually. I think what they use here, if memory serves, they use Music Choice off of DirecTV. Anyway, they're playing oh man, I forget the name of the song. The big breakthrough song from a few years ago by Jelly Roll. I can't remember the name of the song. It's one where he's going, I'm a lost cause, baby, don't waste your time on me. That one. And there were a whole bunch of people in the patio that were singing along to it. All absolutely, completely out of sync with the music that was playing. It was pretty awful, actually. But just had me thinking, well, we got a karaoke crowd here and karaoke's not going on, and that sucks. I did take a picture of Trey's whole schedule for karaoke, but at least his whole schedule there at Roosters. But yeah, I missed him today. And that doubly sucks, because I was thinking that would be a good way to pass the time between now and 9 o'clock when Donk's show starts on the other side of Mesa. Now it's 7:04. For me to go to Donk's show at 9, I gotta figure out how I keep myself entertained on this side of town for 2 hours. And yeah, I don't really see myself doing that. No place else I really want to be on this side of town. Kind of would rather be home. I did hear back from Matt, Whitey Black Matt, and he clarified that it was his uncle's ex-girlfriend that owned the bar. I said, oh yeah, she died a couple months ago. I'm like, oh, that's what the bartender told me. And I sent him the picture from what looked like was a memorial to her by the door. I don't know if he confirmed whether or not that was her or not, but he said what her name was. Not that that would matter to me. I feel like I met her once. I feel he introduced me to her at least once, but it's not like I ever really got to know her or anything. But the fact that he said uncle's ex-girlfriend is enough to kind of tell me that he's probably got no real direct connection to that bar, other than someplace he still occasionally goes and keeps tabs on, what's going on there, since he was aware of her death. He said he's at a motorcycle rally in Mexico, which, holy crap, that sounds like fun. I haven't been to Mexico since, gosh, I want to say 2001. I think that's the last time I went to Mexico was in 2001. I went with my fiance at the time. We weren't married yet, and she was very pregnant with Allison, so that would definitely put it in 2001. That was a really fun trip. We went down to Mexico because our hot water heater was out. We were still sharing the house on Blackledge, on the corner of Blackledge Drive and Blackledge Drive in Tucson, that we share with my friend Todd and his girlfriend, and another friend of theirs that was a cross-dresser. Not to be confused with trans. I don't think anybody ever used the term trans right there. But no, he was very much a dude and very much into women, but he was also very much into cross-dressing. And somehow he managed to hook up with women doing that. I can't make that make sense. Definitely one of the more interesting roommates I've had over the years. And I can't remember his name to save my life. But yeah, our hot water heater went out, and it had been out for a couple of days. And my ex-wife, Daniela, had a couple of days off, so we figured, what the hell? Let's go get a cheap hotel down in Nogales. And that way we'll have a nice warm shower there and have like a little mini vacation. And we did. It was a really great time. We wandered around all over Nogales and ended up going to a place quite a bit south of the border, definitely well out of the touristy areas alongside the border. And I don't remember what we paid for a hotel. All I know is it was a really nice place, and it was obscenely cheap, and it had really good security, and the wall around the parking lot was like a fortress. So we were a little bit concerned since we had a nearly brand new car, and yeah, nothing bad happened while we were there. Got to enjoy some real Mexican food served up by real Mexicans the next day, and just we wandered around near the border and in the touristy areas, and then we drove around in areas where tourists don't really go. And overall, it was just a really, really great time. And generally, when I talk about my ex-wife, I tend to get pretty negative because a lot of the stuff that happened, the things that stick most in my mind was just when everything went to shit with us, how bad it was, and then the god-awful period after our separation, which just seemed to go on forever. But most of the time that we were dating and married was actually a really good time. And that trip to Mexico was one of the best. Anyway, yeah, so Matt in Mexico partying it up with his biker buddies. And but yeah, he seemed pretty eager to try to hang out with me when he got back. He seemed really bummed because I think he lives on this end of Mesa. At least last I talked to him, he did. So I was kind of bummed I was sort of in his hood and he missed me. But yeah, I told him we could, definitely hit me up when he gets back, and he said he would, which is a good thing. And I told him I was still living in the same place in Arcadia. And now I'm thinking that he's never been to my place in Arcadia. Because he mentioned something about remembering coming to my place, but it being in Tempe. And I'm like, oh yeah. I said, that was like a decade ago, dude. It's been a long time since I moved out of Tempe. But I definitely remember him coming by my place in Tempe. And hanging out there with me for a little while. In fact, now I'm thinking about that, as I recall, that's what I was in the middle of going through my lawsuit against SoundChoice, in which they're alleging that I had pirated all my karaoke. And I gave him kind of a tour of my full physical karaoke media library, because back then I used to keep it in my apartment instead of in my storage like I do now. And he was just bewildered by just how obscenely huge he was. And he told me that he had always, trusted me that he had always taken me at my word when I told him that I had physical media for all the stuff that was on the computer, but that it was pretty overwhelming to see it, to actually see it in person. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is why it would be absolutely ridiculous for me to host my show off physical media rather than running it off a computer, media shifted the way I am. said I would actually have to hire somebody to just find and put away discs while I was running the show. There's no way I could do that and run the show. And it's also worth noting that by that time, legal karaoke downloads had been a thing for several years. And of course, I had a whole lot of that. And I never did put any of that stuff on physical media because I had switched to hosting a computer. I want to say literally the second week I hosted karaoke. Before legal karaoke downloads were a thing, and I was already going that direction. I do actually know a handful of hosts, though, that went in the opposite direction. They were still hosting on physical media by the time the karaoke industry had largely transitioned to downloads, or paying to purchase downloads, and seeing where those hosts had purchased the downloads and then converted them onto CD plus G disc compatible with the CDG players that they hosted with. And the funny thing is, I've got loads of professional quality CDG players. In fact, one of the finest of which is actually the Laserdisc player in my living room. But I've hardly ever hosted with them. Since I got into hosting, the first thing I wanted to do was kick the computer because I had a couple of good friends that did it. And that was at a time when hardly anybody ever did it. But my friend Chris Christian, who was one of the first karaoke hosts I ever really got to know, long before I was ever a karaoke host. And I remembered him doing it that way long before I'd ever seen anybody else do it on a computer. So I just went directly to him. Especially considering that at the time when he was doing it on a computer, I was actually working part-time at the computer store that serviced and custom built his computer, which was Emerald Computers in Clinton. So I didn't actually talk to anybody at Roosters. I just kind of went in, took pictures of the schedule. But yeah, that was the time that Pat texted me back, and I was excited to see him respond to me so quickly. And kind of felt like a dolt that I've gone so long without contacting him when he's right there in my contacts, and obviously his number hasn't changed. And I should probably be more proactive like that with the friends that I have. I've got a lot of friends that are, pretty much good friends. I just don't spend a lot of time with them and don't talk to them very much because I guess they're waiting to hear from me and I'm waiting to hear from them, and I just kind of get wrapped up in my own world, such as it is. So I did text Priscilla. She said that I asked her how dinner was coming along, and as I expected, it's not. She said she's still working on hanging up clothes. I had told her I'd help her hang up clothes, but then when I started trying to help her hang up clothes, she was being so particular about how she wanted them hung up that I didn't get it. It was too, when I hang up clothes, I just put them on the hanger and stuff them in the closet. Full stop. I don't care what direction they're facing, as long as they're hanging straight. I don't try to put any sort of organization to them. I don't have any kind of particular way they need to be facing or whatever. I just don't care. I just try to get them out of wherever they are and into the closet before they get dirty. And she was just being way pickier than I could wrap my heads around. And after it taking longer for me to do them and get her to explain how she wanted them done than it would have been for her to just do them herself, and then me standing there while she's doing something else, presumably was going to tell me what else to do, and meanwhile I'm just standing there and my legs are getting tired. And according to the Apple Health app, I walk an average of about 8 miles a day. And I didn't get any days off last weekend. I did a whole bunch of extra work on my feet and walking around, nearly 10-hour shifts. over at Factor. So put that on top of all the walking that I do at the rental car center, and yeah, the last thing I want to do is just be standing on my feet while I'm waiting for her to explain the finicky, weird way in which she wants her clothes on. I was laying back down. And to be fair, this is why I don't ask too many people to help me with the cleaning I need done in my place, because I'm super picky about that kind of shit too. And I've said before, you know, from what I've seen of how she wants things done in her apartment, the best thing that I can do to help is to stay out of her way. And me being there is just going to slow her down from making her own slow progress. And yeah, so she said she still was working on that. Now, if I was working on that, it would have all been done probably within about 30 minutes. But it would have just been on hangers in no particular order shoved in the closet. Now let's close the closet door. I'm sick of looking at the inside of the closet from outside the closet. But, you know, I mean, different strokes for different folks. And who am I to judge how she wants her closet organized? And this is one of the many reasons why I don't think that we could live together as man and wife. Not unless we had separate closets and she didn't fuck with my closet and I didn't fuck with her closet. So on that note, since I know that she is working on stuff, and I have food ready, I'm just going to go home where I can be on my Wi-Fi and maybe work on editing some more chapters of my blog and getting uploaded. Even though my viewership is almost completely dropped off. Which is fine, as I've said many, many times. This isn't about trying to get views. If I wanted this channel to get views, I would just pump out shorts and compilations of bad drivers in Phoenix. Because those videos get tens of thousands of views. But this vlog project, it's what matters to me, and it's just about me keeping a record of what I'm doing in my life. Because otherwise I forget. And getting memories of things that I've done in the past somehow recorded on those fleeting moments when they come back to me. Because there are literally moments I can't remember my own phone number, my own address. So I figure I need to get things recorded while they're on my mind and in my mind and accessible. When I do get home, I'm gonna text Priscilla again and see if she feels like going and seeing Dawn for a little while before we go over to Iran. Because I know she likes hanging out with Donk as well. And he'd probably be happy to see both of us. And probably be happy to see us together. I mean, we're certainly a lot more together now than we have been in quite a long time, but it's still not on a level I'm happy with. I mean, let me rephrase that. I'm happy with how things are. It's just not anywhere close to what it would need to be for me to consider her wife material. She still smokes. That alone is a deal breaker for me. It's a pretty big turnoff when I'm laying naked in her bed and I wish she was laying naked beside me, but she's instead choosing to be in her bathroom with the door closed and the fan turned on, smoking cigarettes so that she smells like an ashtray when she comes to me. And she finally comes to me. And knowing, at least I've told her several times, she should be aware how much the sound of that fan bothers me. I mean, I can still hear it from outside, from in her bedroom. And it wasn't irritating me to the point I couldn't handle being there, but it was definitely irritating me. I'm really sensitive to noises like that. It's part of being autistic. I mean, not to the point I'm going to have to cover up my ears and run around in circles screaming, re, but I can't fully block it out, and it does put me on edge. don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the show. She went on Black Mirror. First episode, I really got into it. After one episode, I'm not really about a Black Mirror marathon. I just want that thing turned off and I want it gone, and I want the blah 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 noise to stop. Can we please put on some music? But for whatever reason, she doesn't put on music. But yeah, she didn't come back to it was probably, I don't know how long an episode of Black Mirror is, but it was definitely halfway through another episode of Black Mirror before she finally came and joined me in bed. And at that point, like, I'm ready for adult fun. I'm ready for that. Like, I spent the whole evening with you at the bar. I took you to the bar. I took you home from the bar. I didn't even really want to stay at the bar because I was extremely tired. But I toughed that out. So for her to use as her justification for not wanting to make love to me is, well, I'm tired. I just want to go to sleep. That just seemed really extremely selfish to me. I mean, I didn't want to stay at the bar because I was tired and I wanted to go to sleep, but I did it anyway so that I could spend that time with her. So I don't think it's too much to ask that I make that sacrifice for her, that she made the same sacrifice for me. Like, I expect her to do any of the work at this point, you know, just you know, roll over and be willingly consensual, and at this time of night I'm good with that. But no, she was just no. And every attempt of me to touch her, she swatted at my hands and just fell asleep. And I've told her countless times that when I get home and I'm next, or not home, her home, my home, wherever, when I get to a bed and I'm in bed with her, I'm not able to sleep until we have sex. I'm not. Just her body being next to my body gets my body going, and I can't sleep. I can sleep alone in my own bed, but I can't, like, that needs to happen, then I fall asleep. And she just doesn't, you know, she tells me I'm being greedy, but that's just that's the reality of it. I stayed there for a while, but yeah, I couldn't fall asleep. Tried to feel her up and kind of make out with her while she was, you know, in her sleep, and all she did was swat at me. At one point, she kind of reached for me and rolled over and stretched over pretty much all the space that was left on the bed. Mind you, there's not a lot of space on the bed because she's got her goddamn tablet on there, and it's big, bulky holder, and it's on like this weird stand that came from the blind center as part of it was given to her as like a sort of accessibility device. And that's kind of hard for me to explain, but it's just in this big kind of bulky rack. So it's taking up quite a bit of space on the bed. So I didn't feel like I really had adequate space left on the bed anyway. And then, you know, she rolls over to the point where I just had no room on the bed, and it was kind of I just wasn't able to sleep anyway, because at this point, like, I'm aroused and it's not stopping because she's there. And when she kind of stretched and reached for me and then took up even more of the bed, that was just the last straw. I just put on my clothes and left. And once I got home, I fell asleep quick. I'm comfortable alone in my own bed. Alone in my own bed's not a problem. But if I'm alone in a bed with an adult female, you know, unless it's my mom or one of my sisters, yeah, sex kind of needs to be happening, or I'm just not going to sleep well. Or it has to be a woman that I'm just straight up not remotely attracted to. But yeah, Priscilla doesn't fall into that category. So it's either got to be on, or I got to go. And I've told her that a million times, but it just doesn't seem to be sinking in.